one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Brzezowski? Clark? Fredericks?
Here.
Height?
Here.
Lindman?
Here.
Newman?
Here.
Schneider?
Here.
Thorne?
Here.
Weber?
Here.
Do you have a note that Patrick informed the Village Hall that he will be unable to attend tonight's meeting?
Motion to excuse him.
Okey doke, motion by Thorne, second. Second by Newman. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. That brings us to approval of the agenda.
I didn't see
Motion to
anything.
approve is written.
Okay, motion by
Support.
Weber, second by Snyder. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, and that brings us to item 5, approval of the minutes. I personally didn't see anything that
Look good to me.
needed a change.
I'll move to approve the minutes as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay, it was motion by Lindman, second by Thorne, was it?
Yes.
Okay, a all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, that brings us to item 6, the public hearing for special land use request, I believe has been scheduled, but there's been some more added info on the topic, and I don't believe it's tabled, so I think we can just have Sally maybe fill us in on what's going on with that.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, at your previous planning commission meeting, you scheduled this public hearing, and it's for a child care center at the Shepherds of the Lakes Church. And you did discuss this at the last meeting, and you did have 3 conditions that you were considering. One was to require the fence posts be more substantial and at least 2 feet into the ground. And I see that we've gotten a photo here of some fencing, so the applicant can probably talk about that. And then an evergreen tree, and it's got to meet the minimum height in the ordinance. And just for those who don't know, I am a landscape architect, and my husband owns a tree farm. And this tree does not meet the ordinance standards. It's not acceptable. It's,
The tree in the picture.
yeah, the tree in the picture. It's barely a tree.
Very Charlie
It's a
Brown.
very Charlie Brown tree, so we can talk about that, and I can show you what the ordinance requires for a tree. And then, last but not least, you were requiring a permanent fence be installed in the location of this temporary fence within 1 year of approval.
Excellent, thank you for that refresher, nicely done. So I guess we are ready for a motion to open to the public.
Make a
I
motion.
move we open to the public.
Okay, I think Mr. Newman beat you there, Mr. Snyder, so we've got a motion by Newman, second by Snyder, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, we've got, yeah, please just state your name.
My name is Laura Plasty. I'm here on behalf of Behavior for All in reference to the special land use request at Shepherd of the Lakes. To the 3 points that were talked about when we started the conversation, after some research, there were 2 types of temporary posting. One was called a U-post, one was called a T-post. We chose to go the T-post route because they were twice as thick and twice as strong. It is a 4-foot high fence, and we bought the 5-foot high post, and they are countersunk to that additional degree that we had talked about. The tree we had talked about, because I wasn't a landscaper and I was working under a tight time frame, most of the professional landscapers in the area didn't have availability within these 2 weeks because this is their high season. So the best effort was made. The conversation that we had in person was that I could get a what were those skinny ones called? Arborvitae trees.
yeah.
And we discussed that that wasn't meeting the intention to be a blocker. So the lily pine that I was able to purchase is 6 feet. It is not. It is a Charlie Brown tree. That is what we have lovingly called it. It is. It was guaranteed by the people I purchased it from to grow at least 3 feet this year. It's also a type of tree that expands quite broadly. We had discussed that the conversation was a recommendation for 8 feet. And then in our discussions here, a 6 foot that grew quickly was something that we had discussed. If that's a holding point, I can absolutely contract a landscaper, but it wouldn't be within it wasn't before this meeting that I could make it happen. Any other additional questions or responses I can provide for this?
Just one, so 2 questions. So the fence posts are now 18 to 24 inches down, so that's substantial?
Yes.
That's 1. 2, you agree that within a year, you'll go permanent?
Yes, with the coordination with the church, yes.
Okay.
And 3, you'll fix the Charlie Brown tree within a reasonable time frame?
You can probably say by September or something like that.
That sounds fine.
Yeah.
No problem there. Can I have a little clarification? Because I am not a landscape architect.
Well, I can show you some pictures. How's
Okay.
that?
And I know what they were talking about, but it was one of those, finding a place that would sell to the public.
Well, and I think you're going to need a contractor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, almost of these pictures on the street view, are you talking about like these 2 kind of over here and over here kind of looking ones?
Basically a Christmas tree, right?
Yeah,
An
I
8-foot
mean-
Christmas tree.
Yeah.
We had multiple conversations about if it was December, I would just buy a living Christmas tree and stick it in the ground. But that wasn't open. But yes, that, I can absolutely make that happen.
So Sally, you need for an 8-foot live Christmas tree, you really need a contractor?
You really do, because it's going to be too big and heavy. She will not be able to manage it physically.
It's the root ball size.
It's the root ball, it's a couple 100 pounds, that tree would be.
Well, there's special equipment that you have to levy it out, because I was like, I will buy, or I'll run to U-Haul and do whatever, and they're like, no, that's not how this works.
One human being, even if you were a big burly guy, you couldn't do it.
No, my dad is a retired he worked for a landscape company
Yeah.
for many years, and he walked me through the process. So when we went from the 8-foot requirement to the 6-foot requirement, it became doable in my own scope. But if the 8-foot is what's required,
And that's what the ordinance says, specifically says 8 foot. Okay,
my
so
question came back is it was recommended, not required. So then I had some gray area there.
Is, well, ordinances generally don't recommend, right?
It was the report written in response to my original. I'm looking on page 7 of the special land use for Wolverine Lake. This document, I don't know how to determine.
That's the planning report.
Yeah.
But we need to go back to the ordinance is what's going to trump
And if
everything.
8 foot's required, I am happy to make
No,
it happen.
but we want to, if it's
does
not,
say-
it gives us some
It does say
flexibility.
recommended that 1 tree, minimum 8 feet tall, be planted.
Oh, that's where the recommendation came from, because it wasn't read directly from the ordinance.
No, hold on, I wouldn't just
You
throw
wouldn't
it
say
out
that
there.
off the top. Yeah, I got
I'm
you.
sure I've got a reason. So, let's see.
125203, somewhere around there.
Screening is required. So they are using the parking lot, and there is a requirement for parking lot screening. It says whenever off-street parking areas are adjacent to land used or zoned for residential purposes, a wall or landscape buffer strip in accordance with section 1270.03 shall be provided along the sides of the parking adjacent to such residential land. And my comment was, there are residential apartments adjacent to the parking lot on this north and south sides. As mentioned above, we recommend, okay. Oh, it must have been, sorry, earlier than page 7.
It's right above this green, up in the top, section
What
3.
page are you?
Right here.
What page? There's a page number.
7.
No, that's not, so it's earlier than
Thing on
that.
page 5 where,
Is it 5?
yeah, area visible from the rear of the adjacent residential building.
Yeah.
These plants do not provide screening for the rest central patio area to this building. We recommend that an evergreen tree, minimum 8 feet tall, be planted along the boundary.
But we know we need screening, but
Yeah.
it's so do we have flexibility on the screening, or does the ordinance state screening must be 8 feet? Or,
So
It
there,
actually says recommend, okay.
Yeah.
We recommend that
says-
as a
Page 5
minimum
and
of 8
7 both say recommend.
so they're recommending it, does that mean that we're saddled to that?
so these are the general standards for special land use approval. And one requirement, site design. The site design of the proposed use will minimize the impact of site activity on surrounding properties. In determining whether this requirement is met, the Planning Commission will consider, 1, the location of screening of outdoor storage or activity area and mechanical equipment in relationship to surrounding development. So if you look at the photograph on page 3, bottom photo, that patio where the A is, the white A on the photograph,
Yeah.
has direct view of the play area. And as you can see, there's nothing in between that patio and the play area. One tree is all is all I am suggesting. I'm not suggesting a whole line of trees, which would, totally meet this standard in my mind. So I'm just saying, I'm suggesting one tree. If it's 8 feet tall, it's going to probably be 4 or 5 feet wide, and that's going to at least provide some screen from that patio to the play area.
It does say under page 11, under our recommended for conditions of approval, one evergreen tree minimum 8 feet tall be planted.
Right, and that was one of the discussion points we had last time I was here.
Right.
My clarification was, when we were getting delayed by the month, what can I make sure that I have accomplished? And the conversation was, arborvitae's weren't gonna meet the
Screening.
requirement,
Well,
so,
it's just not meeting the intent. So
Right,
the
I agree.
intent of the ordinance is
Well-
to provide some screen.
I agree, and that's
So-
why the lily pine, I'm not an expert on these in any capacity, was a wide one, and that's why I went with it. I will replace it, no problem. My question came back to that recommended language. If there's an opportunity there to say,
It's going to grow into
yes, so if that.
what we need.
That's an option, I would like to discuss it. If we need the 8 foot by September, I understand that. I will say I'm a very small business, and I can't keep buying
So
trees.
Sally, the intent, I know we want to kind of keep looking, but the intent is screening. What are the thoughts on if she put 3 arborvitae's? I mean, does that kind of look, is that a fish out of water?
As
compared
long
to
as
the
they're
other
not spread
landscaping?
out.
I'm sorry?
As long as they're not spread out.
Yeah, so I mean, 3 arborvitae's, just throwing, arborvitae grows like really fast, tall, right?
Well, sometimes.
You have to be careful,
Okay.
because if you plant them in a row and they become a fence, then they're a fence and they're not a tree.
But if there's only 3 of them,
Right, so there
Is that-
still has to be some spacing.
yeah. But if we spaced them, I'm trying to think of what mine are spaced, probably,
I think
they're probably
4 feet on center,
3
5 feet on
I was
center.
gonna say 3, I think mine are 3 feet apart, which then they kind of grow together and grow tall. they're not very expensive, and they probably provide better screening. We had 3 arborvitaes in 9 feet than one.
I think that's a
pine.
good alternative. Here's the reason why I didn't, there is no minimum size for an evergreen tree in your ordinance. It just talks about deciduous trees and ground cover. I don't know why there's no minimum standard. So that's in section 1270.04. So,
I mean, would it be easier for you to do the 3 arborvitaes we can get those at Lowe's or Home Depot or?
I don't know.
you can price it out.
I went,
So how about we give you the choice?
okay.
One
Well,
8-foot,
okay.
whatever,
4 foot
Christmas
wide.
tree,
Yeah, Christmas tree.
or 3 arborvitaes
Space 3 feet apart.
spaced 3 feet apart.
Okay.
And what's the minimum height? Are they
Because
all
we
8
had,
foot?
I guess I'm anxious
I would
because we
say-
had this conversation and I did what we had, what my understanding was of the conversation. When I came back, it wasn't correct. So I just want to make
Well, I
sure
think-
I'm not doing work twice now.
I mean, minimum height, I mean, both of these kind of trees, either the small Christmas tree or the arborvitaes, are gonna grow quickly.
Yes.
So minimum height, I would be okay with 6 feet, but
I think that's a standard arborvitae's
Yeah.
size at,
at
At a
Lowe's
big
or Home
box
Depot
retailer.
or
Mhm.
somewhere.
And
So
just-
an arborvitae is acceptable at 6 feet, but the lily pine is
3.
not.
I-
Three.
3
I
arborvitaes.
think we're
yeah.
saying,
Well,
we'll give you your choice.
Mhm.
The intent is screening.
Yes.
Charlie Brown definitely doesn't meet the intent of what we were, I think that's a logical assumption. It does not meet the intent.
I will say he was
Well-
purchased online and I was told
Okay.
he will grow 3 feet in a year. So that
there's
was
some
my.
assembly required
Right.
still.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what, we want to make sure too that the Charlie Brown, even though it looks miserable in the picture, it was just planted and it's not sucking any water yet. and It probably looks taller
Tom.
and wider already.
No.
No chance?
There's no
No
way that
chance.
that's,
Okay.
I know trees.
Give it to, yeah, it's not gonna do it. Okay,
Okay.
just thought we'd check, 'cause what if it straightened up and got wide, like, real quick, you know? You
It
never
won't.
know. It won't. Okay, gotcha, Sally. Thank you.
Okay.
so I think the intent, though, again, it's being respectful of the apartments. It's providing some screening for a new activity that wasn't there. An 8-foot tree is gonna be this wide. And it's probably gonna be a lot more expensive than 3 6-foot arborvitae's. And we're making the trade-off because the arborvitae's will provide a wider screening than the 8-foot tree.
Okay.
If that makes.
Agreed, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
But I would
Yeah,
say
and you can do it yourself.
that
Yeah,
anything
arborvitae's.
that's put in by a professional might have some kind of a guarantee, where if you put something in yourself,
Well,
you're risking whatever might happen.
English, what's the place over on?
English
English
gardens.
English
English
Gardens.
Gardens, they usually do a 1-year guarantee on theirs. So,
There, when I contacted them, their professionals couldn't come out until the beginning of August, and I was cautioned against a planting season. I don't understand tree roots. And then Farmer John's in Farmington Hills was a similar, they had this stock, they were willing to do it, it was going to take them a while. I wanted to show you guys that I'm doing everything in my power to make this happen for this. Charlie Brown was a little bit rough. I knew that coming in.
It's all right.
It's part of the reason I provided a picture of like, this is what I was able to make happen. You guys tell me if this meets your,
I
That's
think
it.
I think the plants that you get at a Menards or a Home Depot, I think they come with a 1-year
I think so, too.
warranty as well.
the
And I
wa-
think it makes sense to plant them in September, so you're not getting the high heat, and it gives
Yeah.
them time to do it.
After it cools
And if your
off.
father has any, worked in landscaping, there can't be much easier than planting an arborvitae. They're actually kind of hard to kill if you,
And you should,
ironically,
like,
there
mow.
was, yeah,
yeah.
we've tried.
And that's something she'll be able to do without hiring a
Yeah.
contractor.
Yeah.
But we're
Okay,
given her
great.
the option of
Okay. So just making sure that I understand the information so that I'm staying within the scope of this conversation. It's up to me if I would like to do 3 minimum 6 feet arborvitae's, spaced 3 to 5 feet off center.
3 feet.
3 feet.
3 feet off center, okay. or at least an 8-foot evergreen. Is there a specific type of evergreen that meets that qualification?
Yeah, you could use a white spruce.
Okay.
You could use a Black Hill spruce. They're really tough plants.
Okay. It's a it's a 3-year lease. At some point, I need the tree to be alive that long, and then I don't care.
Get your dad to help you, if he's a landscaper.
He was a landscaper in college.
Oh,
He has
my,
the
okay,
skills, but
got
I
it,
have
got
the
it,
back.
got it. Okay.
There's a difference. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That helps clear it up. And then we said September is an appropriate timeline?
Yes.
Okay.
I just have a question for my own edification. Now, we've made this offer. There's no other village official or body that can come along later and say, this can't work. It doesn't meet the requirements. It's not 8 feet tall. It says 8 feet tall. She needs to be 8 feet tall.
There
If we
is-
say it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, there's no
right.
minimum size for an evergreen tree in your ordinance.
Okay.
So we're flying blind here.
Well, what else?
So, but it's site plan approval with the 3 conditions.
It would be
That's
special
what I
land
meant.
use
Or
and site
special
plan,
land use or
and
special
site
land
plan
use.
approval, yeah.
Okay.
But we do the approval, we don't send it to the council to approve it.
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I was after. Thanks.
So do we need to vote on the site plan approval?
So do we need them?
Yes.
Motion, and then.
Vote on both.
So we start with.
Special land use.
Special land use. So I'll make a motion to approve special land use pending site plan approval.
Support.
Okay, motion by Weber, supported by Snyder. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries.
So then I'll make a motion to approve site plan with the following 3 conditions. 1, the temporary fence will be 4 foot tall, and the posts will be 18 to 24 inches in the ground. The temporary fence will be replaced with a permanent fence within 12 months of site plan approval. And the evergreen screening will be either 3 6-foot arborvitaes, 3 foot on center, or 1 8-foot spruce tree at the applicant's determined discretion.
I'm sorry, George, did you say 8 foot evergreen?
1, yes, or 1 8-foot,
Okay.
I think we said
Evergreen.
spruce.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, nicely
I'm
put.
sorry, was there any more conditions? I interrupted, so.
I think just those, I think
Just
those.
Those 3. Those are-
Well, the last one, did you say it gets replaced with a permanent fence? I'm
Yes.
sorry, I
Yes.
was writing.
That was
Okay.
two.
Very
That was
good.
the
Thank
second
you.
one.
Within a year.
Okay, nicely put. Motion by Mr. Weber,
Second.
second by Mr. Thorne. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Congratulations.
You did it.
Yeah, good job, Laura.
Thank you for all your help, guys.
Painful as it
Thank
was.
you.
Can't we do that Charlie Brown song?
Okay.
start.
That brings us to correspondence. We do have a letter here from the fire department approving the new occupancy for the Shepherd of Lakes Church, saying it passed the inspection and everything's all good to go on that.
Excellent.
Good.
And then we have no call to public or new business or pending business or tabled business. So that brings us right to liaison reports for council.
Good evening. So obviously, this last month, main topic of discussion was the budget. All right, we were able to approve the budget. I do have a copy of it here too, and the amendments if you'd like to review it as well. It took a lot of time, and then also we have a new member to the ZBA. We appointed Jennifer Newman, so she'll be joining us in there. And yeah, that was the bulk of. this meeting,
Okay,
so-
thank
Yeah, you
you.
can review it if you'd like.
All right, thank you, Mr. Newman, for the report, and that brings us to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, well, for Parks and Rec, we had our first Tuesdays in the park on June 17th. It was a good success on that one. We got another one coming in July and another in August. Our farmers market's up and running, starting first Tuesday in June and running till the end of September. We're starting to get more vendors for that and getting some pretty good turnout. This last Tuesday, I had a little bit of a challenge right in the middle of it. This huge storm just blew through. These guys out there with all these canopies and stuff, so that was a little excitement, but anyway, that's going well. We had our second dog show on June 21st, had 13 participants with that, and had a good time with that. And we're gearing up for the fishing contest August 9th, and then already lots of planning meetings for the corn roast on, when is it, the September 6th. So,
Okay.
and we're also collecting feedback on our survey to help us update our master plan, so that's the other thing we're working on.
I know I've asked this a bunch of times, but what time's the farmer's market start?
Starts at 3 to 7:30 Tuesdays. Beginning of June to the end of September.
And it's awesome. I went, they got some strawberries that'll blow you away.
Did- But
Oh, they got
did
some
you have to
strawberries
get
there?
there at 3?
No, that's what's so great. Most of the farmer markets in Walled Lake, everybody got to get there like 7 in the morning.
I
And,
know.
You know, so this one you can go as late as 7:30. There was some great vendors with some unique products there.
I
and
thought
good
I heard
food.
one time that by that late, it was getting pretty sparse. But,
No,
It
we
was
haven't
fantastic.
encountered that yet.
I'm gonna go back,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's see, Mr. Brzezowski's not here for ZBA, but that brings us to water management.
Okay, we've had a few different discussions. One is about drawing down the water another 6 inches than normal. I think that's the limit what the sluice gate will allow. And the reason being is it would enable more weeds to freeze as the winter comes along. The downside to that we're trying to weigh is it may take longer to get the lake up to level because we'll be needing the pumps more in the springtime. But pulling those weeds out, that's going in tandem with, we're looking at a new harvester.
Really?
This one is a different design, and what it does is instead of clipping weeds, it pulls them, it says. It's the claim, we're taking a look at different places. So as it does that, and collects them, you'll have less debris, for one. And the other is that you will not have as frequent a growth, so it keeps the weed level down, and it has the other added benefit of not having to use quite so many chemicals to treat the lake when we try to keep the weeds at a normal level. I think I think we can get it on a 1-year lease to look at, see how it works.
well, that's a good idea, because I was just wondering, I mean, how do
Yeah.
how do you know
Yeah.
it's not baloney?
Yeah, we don't want to buy a sky hook and then,
Right.
you know, and we weren't going to do anything with the current
Machine?
machine yet. Just, you know, I mean, we don't get to make the call anyway, but our recommendation would be is just take a breath, see if this thing does what it claims it will do, and if there is indeed the benefit of a reduction in having to chemically treat the lake to keep the weeds down, we can weigh that against. I think one of the other features is also it is of a size that allows it to get into places where the current harvester can't. It may be able to get under the bridge and get into some other places where.
Maybe in the canals?
That would be nice. That would be nice.
Is the harvester, I saw it parked up at Mallow Park with like buoys around it.
Really?
Did they blow a leak?
Oh,
Oh.
maybe.
Okay.
It was out there a while, a couple of days ago. and
It
we
was,
just
it was
kinda-
running, this was like last night.
Oh,
We saw
okay.
it parked and it had I was assuming maybe something was leaking. And that's
Oh,
why
God.
they moved it over. to
Yeah,
the
I didn't get any word on that, but
So,
it may very well be the case. The other thing is, and I think it was mentioned in the newsletter, we have looked at several different types of septic assistance for people that have septic tanks yet. Most of them, a technician needs to install it, but they're aerators, basically, that will help clear the tank and your field. And for people that it won't repair a bad septic tank, but it can help unclog the septic field and keep the bio hazards low. Keep your septic tank better longer. Relatively cheap, We've seen them in many, like a price range from like 2,000 down to, you know, a couple $100. So we're looking at those, and I think there was an article about that in the latest newsletter, so.
All right. Excellent information. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Plus electric into a tank where you never had electric.
Yeah.
Any announcements? Okay, I hear a motion to adjourn.
A motion?
Second?
Motion by Thorne, second by Lippman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, everybody, for your time. Appreciate you all.
Is there any limit on how long?